Do we need a second?
Can we have the call to order on the record first? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I usually just carry it over. So those present are Commissioner Luke, Vice Mayor Yates, Mayor Carasone, Commissioner McDowell, Commissioner Hanks, City Manager Lear, City Attorney Slayton, Interim City Clerk Pito, and Chief of Police Garrison. Again, please make sure your phones are on silent or vibrate, or else you're buying dessert. If you want to do a public comment, here is the public comment card. You can find them right up there, and you can give them to Officer Chippendale. So, now, moving.
Motion, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the Fire Rescue District as presented.
Second.
Okay, everybody push their buttons. Moved by Commissioner McDowell, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Let's go ahead and vote.
This is messed up.
Well, you can hit yes. That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, it's 5-0. And are you in the right meeting? Back out. There you go. Now hit the.
I have to hit refresh twice and then it goes in for me. I need help.
Technology is not Vice Mayor's forte. Oh, don't go on.
I'm getting better.
Yes, you are. You're getting better.
Chief Titus.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
I'm in. I'm joined.
Do not have any regular public record or public comment,
Regular public
correct?
comment,
No.
We are
Okay.
in fire rescue.
Yes.
Okay.
So 3A is resolution number 2018-R-23, read by title only.
Thank you. Resolution number 2018-R23, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Northport, Florida as the governing body of the Fire Rescue District, providing for the adoption of the Northport Fire Rescue District non-ad valorem rates pursuant to section 197.3632 Florida statutes and certification of a Fire Rescue District non-ad valorem assessment roll for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing for collection and said non-ad valorem assessments, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and next we have a public comment, which is Mr. Cooley. Is this exactly what we just got?
No.
Ready? I want to address Greg Hewley, 1274 Overhead Street. I want to address the proposed fire and rescue assessments for 2018-19. Fact, Sarasota has seen the highest tax roll increase since 2008, and it was disclosed in the road and drainage meeting. Northport is also up 12% on its tax roll. Fact, Northport has received more incoming revenue for the 2017-18 fiscal year than any of the five previous years. Fact, property assessment values increased by more than 2% for 2018-19, and Northport will benefit from the multiplier of these increases too. Fact, over the past 4 years, Social Security COLA has increased only 4.1%. Florida median household income has increased 6.2%. CPI inflation rate has increased only 8%, yet Northport has raised my fire and rescue rates by 23.3% during the same 4 years. Yes, 23.3%. With these known facts, please explain and justify to me why you need an additional 20% increase on the fire and rescue assessment this year. Do you honestly believe us taxpayers' incomes have gone up anywhere near 20% in a single year? Why are you trying to tax us to the poorhouse? There's only one reasonable answer that I see. The city has a seriously bad spending problem, and you want to tax us to death to feed your spending addiction. You commissioners have a choice. Either dial these high proposed increases back to a fair level, or the voters will take care of this problem at the ballot box. There's absolutely no reason or justification for your proposed 20% increase over current levels, especially when us taxpayers are living in the real world with only 1.5% to 2% wage increases year to year. Again, what are you thinking? What are you trying to do to us taxpayers? As commissioners, you have a civic duty and a fiscal responsibility to us taxpayers, and 20% is not reasonable, responsible, or civic-minded. It's simple robbery. The 12% growth is more than adequate to share the load without huge increases in these assessments. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, the assessments are not, as you read, it is an 8% increase, not a 20% increase in the assessments. Anything over 10 would require a methodology, which we did not do. So I don't know where the 20% increase is coming from, because that's not the amount that's being proposed. The max was set at 9, and what's being proposed to you now is an 8% increase.
Okay, what is the actual numbers? So is it in Appendix A? Is it the 7859 for improved properties per parcel and unimproved properties?
Or 5.05 per 5,000 of value of the property, of the structure.
Wait, so it's $78.59 per every $5,000?
No, it's $78.59 for every parcel.
Right.
And then it's $5.05 for the structure for every $5,000 of value of the structure. So it's a two-tiered. Everybody pays for the $78, whether it be a vacant lot or has a structure on it.
Okay.
And because of the additional service to fight for a structure, it's based on the value of the structure.
So for a home that's worth $150,000, what's that tier 2 on then? Like $150.
$151.50.
How about that? I did that in my head. So we're looking at,
Can I address something the city manager just said while you were
Yeah.
doing your math? So city manager, there's a difference between the rates as we look at them to raise the revenue that's needed to operate the district versus each individual's increase or decrease that they're going to see on their tax bill based on those rates. So while the 8% increase that's to raise the revenue needed is what it is, it doesn't mean that an individual's tax non-ad valorem assessment wasn't 20%, as in this case, because part of this methodology includes where the tier 2 is based on the value of that structure. So if they saw an increase in value, as we know, a 12.83% of increases, I mean, it could very well be that this individual has 20%, as some may have 25%, or some may have a 5% reduction, depending upon that
Correct.
particular, threshold. So I think Mr. Cooley is expressing what was on his bill, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we raised our rates 20%.
That is correct. And the roughly 12% increase in value includes the new construction. So something went from a vacant piece of land to having a structure on it. It's not 12
Right.
just across the board, because that number includes new construction, whereas, so exactly like your example, I could have had a lot that was worth $7,000 and I put a $200,000 house on it. Now the property is worth $207,000. That individual is going to have a significant increase because now they have a structure that they did not in the past. So yes, the revenue is going up 8% based on the budget that's proposed, and you're correct. Not everybody has an 8%. Some will have more, some will have less.
Right, as with the sheet that we just handed out, that this 20.2% is speaking from that individual and what is their specific increase to their property.
And my guess is that that sheet is also based on the not to exceed rates that went out on the trim notice, not the 8% increase. It's based on a 9% increase.
So, just to confirm what you're saying, in our house, we did some improvements to the land. So our increase is a lot more than most, because we did put a structure on it. It's quite a jump. I think it's beyond the 12%, but regardless, it is what it is. Doing some quick math, including the increase as well as the proposed 8% increase, altogether, it's about a $20 rate adjustment. So it's an additional $20 this year as opposed to last year for me personally. And again, like I said, you know, that's considering the large amount of increase in the ad valorem of our house evaluation went up dramatically, and then with the rate increases. So
May I
think-
pose a
yeah.
question?
Yeah,
That
Bless you.
8%, is that on tier 1 or tier 2 or both?
okay, Vice Mayor, your light's still on.
So I'm just going to refer to the unnumbered page.
The
Again?
unnumbered page.
In the budget book that we have, it's before the SLAs start, and this one is a breakdown
It was huge.
of the fire rescue
Fire
now.
gone
Just
up, yeah.
looking at, you know, to operate in the same way, you know, these things are out of our control. The Florida State Legislature determines the FRS percentages for whether it's, you know, first responders or elected officials or other, they determine, correct, city manager, what, we have no control of what that increase is.
Done statutorily.
It's statutory. And in this particular case, where it applies to the fire rescue district, it was an increase of 87.37% from last year. So that is something we have absolutely no control of. That's where the state mandates and forces and tells us what we're going to do. And at the end of the day, these uncontrollable costs come to a net increase, some went up, some went down, of 23.82%. That is substantial. And so and that information came, I think, in confirmation, city manager, after our last budget, because it doesn't come in until later in July, you know, later on than when we had our numbers. So just the city manager confirming what I'm pointing to, and that's substantial. So again, it comes down to making that determination of, you know, providing the level of service and keeping the ratings that we have for our fire service in the community. And I was very adamant through this whole budget cycle in saying that I could not support, you know, any increase in this fire district, not certainly to the degree that it was. A lot has happened, and, you know, I lost those battles as far as trying to keep some things from this year's budget. We went ahead, majority of commission, you know, we did what we did, and fortunately, we had that opportunity to get the grant. And I just want to publicize that we did, in fact, I wasn't for adding those positions, because it was a high number of positions. I wanted to hold off until next year. However, it was added. It does add some increases to our budget. But at the same token, it was over $667,000, I believe, in a grant that we received to fund those for this particular year. Am I saying my numbers right? But it was substantial. And so that offsets the cost, and then it's spread out for us as we go in time, because it's not all 21 positions, I think. It's a breakdown of some positions, correct, city manager?
Yeah, I'll let the fire chief, he has the numbers better than I do on what that, I know the grant was significant.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't, and I can go pull up the exact numbers and have them very quickly. What I can say is I believe it's about $2.6 million over the 3 years is what it's saving. So the way the grant works is in year number one, it's a 75%, 25% split. So 25% is our portion, 75% is funded by the federal government. That's at base salary. It also does not include, it doesn't include any differential for paramedic pay. It doesn't include any other things as they advance through those 3 years, but it certainly is a significant savings to the city and really, really helps us absorb the impact of those 21 positions over a 3-year going into a 4th-year period to be able to expand our service, so.
And
So,
Vice Mayor, you were correct, that the revenue from that grant, just in the district, not counting the general
Right.
fund portion of the revenue, was $667, almost $668,000, so.
Right, so that was substantial. So it's balancing out and weighing out here. And, I mean, that's what I always do, is try and look at this in its totality, also respecting, where the commission is. But the savings that the taxpayers are going to see over the next 3-year cycle by doing what was done in this particular budget, even though it has some impacts, is phenomenal. And it's something that is going to help lower the rates or keep the rates lower over the next 3-year period. So I just wanted to get this information out. And, again, I'll say it again, I'm the type of person that I make a position, I take a position, but I absorb all the information, take in the information, and based on that information, do and try to accomplish those goals that we need to accomplish. So, I do change my position, and I think that's what people want, is for us to sit up here, deliberate, and make those best decisions that we can make for the best interest of the community. So, I know that this is a reduction, correct, from the 9%. And I saw within the budget, when I went through those numbers, there were some things that you tweaked and you kind of lowered and push it back. And I just want to say I appreciate that. And if I look at the general fund, I didn't get these numbers. Did everybody get the balance, the fund balance numbers? Okay. So in looking at that, and keeping and maintaining the sustainability for this community to make sure we're in good shape, well, we're at where we need to be with the emergency funds and then having that little bit of surplus. But if we do not, do the budget and this resolution as to those rates, we are going to put our city in a very difficult situation because of these mandates from the state, because of this 23% increase that we don't have really any control over. I know, Mayor, I'm gonna shut up now, but I just really felt that these are important things and considerations that the public does need to know that's been considered, and what we were able to achieve to save the rates from going up in the subsequent
Yeah.
year, because we would be looking at substantial increases. So, Chief, I appreciate it, and
That's off, man. That's off.
getting that grant was phenomenal. I could tell you that if we didn't, then I would have been back to saying, no, you need to postpone this, for the subsequent year. But I applaud everybody for what they did with this.
Mayor, may I say something just really quick?
Go ahead.
2 seconds. I want to apologize to the people here and to the board, but I have to relieve my babysitter. My wife is out of town. He's been there for about 12 hours now, so I need to go relieve him. And so I'll leave here in about 5 minutes. But thank you. Sorry.
You. Commissioner McDowell.
So I want to say thank you. I'll get to the question, I promise. Thank you for yesterday's meeting. It was very helpful. We had talked about a few different things, so I'm going to touch on 2 of them. 1, 8% increase. We understand that there are solid things that are required, like the Vice Mayor just said, that we have no choice, but it raises ours, we have to pay for it. Regardless of what we want to do, this is what the state says. So could you help explain some more on some of the biggest reasons that we have to raise these rates.
Yes. Thank you. Scott Titus for the Fire Rescue District, Fire Chief. Thank you for asking the question. I'll try and keep the answer brief, and then you can ask further if you'd like, because I know we'd all like to wrap it up. In consideration with a lot of the things that the Vice Mayor said and a lot of things that we've gone over, one, I'd like to thank the fire rescue staff because they were tremendously helpful, and Char and her staff were unbelievable. I know we recognized them earlier, but they helped do some things to get us to where we are that were very difficult, thinking outside the box and doing some things, so I'm very thankful for that. Some of the things the general public does not understand is we talked about the grant and how that works. There are things that the grant doesn't cover. It doesn't cover bunker gear. It doesn't cover uniforms. So when you talk about bringing on 21 people, just that alone, there is a pretty significant impact in a budget. The other things it doesn't do is, as I said, as we go into year 2, 3, and 4, we need to be thinking ahead because the amount of revenue that we need to bring in year number 4 is fully loaded for all of these people. The Fire Rescue District can only go up 10% per year. So even though there's some of these one-time costs, when I say one-time, but like our personal protective envelope, it's several thousands of dollars for each person. It's not a repeating cost every year. It's every 5 years. So even though we're spending that this year for those 21 people, next year you go, oh gosh, we'll be able to save that money. Well, not necessarily, because there are other costs that associated going on. And as we get into year number 4, we need to take on the fully loaded costs of those people, which is without, again, we talked about those increases and we talked about the promotions to open that station and things like that. Without any of those considerations, it's almost $2 million in added personnel costs over that period of time. One of the other things not taken into consideration is if you look back, we talked a little bit about it earlier on in the budget season, but in 2014, from 2014 to now, or 2014 our rates were $74 and change for that tier 1 rate. We're at 72 now. We're actually lower. It's from fiscal year 16 to fiscal year 17, we reduced our rates 5.37%. We did those things with the wisdom of the commission, with the assistance of the city manager, to, as we were going through the recovery phase, to try and absorb some of that. We did a strategic spend down of our reserves. We did some things, and although the values of properties were increasing and things were getting better, at the same time we were scaling back. I believe we try and work very hard to be, fiscal every year with people's money and very, very prudent, understanding that these things are challenging. We don't know what's out looming in the horizon, and we're not putting a bunch of money in the piggy bank. I can tell you, my fear as the fire chief is at some point in time there's going to be a market correction. If that happened tomorrow, we would have difficulty handling that, quite honestly. But I think we're moving in the right direction, and we have the support of how to get there. And like I said, we have a great staff with finance that have helped us get through some of these things. But when we looked at the rate increase, if you remember when we met during the times when we talked about the not to exceed, we were at 9%. Some things that we've had worked on then at that time, that was off of the adopted budget, not the amended budget, which it was a significant change in there of itself. So we have done some wonderful stuff. One of the things we've slowed down was attrition. Attrition really cost us a lot of money. We were losing people as fast as we were bringing them on. For the first time in a long time, we're getting full staffing right now, and we're looking to bring on 21 people to be able to expand our level of service to cover our city ourselves, which is really, really awesome. There's going to be some cost to that. It's difficult. We've reduced our contributions to capital acquisition, which I'm not completely comfortable with, but I am comfortable that we will find a way, and with the support of the commission, with the support of this community, we'll make sure that we have fire trucks. Their expectation is they dial 911 and we show up. There's no excuses. So I appreciate everybody's support. If there's a more specific question that I can speak to, please let me know.
There's an SLA in there for replacement vehicles. It's approximately $1.2 million. Is it possible in any way to extend those purchases for a year to help with defraying some of the increase in costs? Maybe you can elaborate on if we could, or no, absolutely we can't.
So as we talked about yesterday, some of the things, so NFPA has a recommendation of 10 years frontline for fire.
I'm sorry, who?
NFPA, it's the National Fire Protection
Thank you.
Association. It's a national standard throughout the country. They recommend 10 years frontline for fire apparatus. Actually, one of the engines that we're replacing next year, I believe it's in its 12th year. By the time we replace it, it'll be going into its 13th year. So we already try and stretch those purchases. Our ambulances, it's 5 to 7 years depending on mileage. And a lot of that goes down in our cooperation with The fleet department, when we look at, so here's what a recommended date is, but if we're not having breakdowns, we're not having issues, we do try and stretch those, which is why, you know, that engine is a little bit older than what's initially recommended. Our ambulances, they run, they run a lot, and we've had some difficulties having reliability, and it goes back to, as I said before, if I want to stretch a purchase of a personal vehicle at my house for a couple of years, and I get up in the morning and my car doesn't start, I'm blessed because I can call somebody and say, hey, can you cover for me a little bit? I can run down to Walmart, get a battery, and put it in, no problem. When somebody dials 911, though, that's not the case. We have to get in the fire truck, we have to go every single time, and the ambulance. And if we don't, we're not meeting, number one, the level of service that we're here for. I mean, that's why we exist. So there are certain things that, yes, I promise you, we stretch those purchases as we can. But when you gamble and stretch them too far, I don't know if some of you may remember, it wasn't all that many years ago where we had ambulances breaking down on the side of the interstate. We're calling in another ambulance which broke down on the way, and then we're waiting for a third one to get there, and now we're out of ambulances in the city. That's just not. So sometimes we have to estimate and make our best guess. We are expanding our fleet of reserve apparatus, so there's some cost to that, but there's also some hope that will help save money over time and reducing some of the mileage and wear and tear. And some of that money that you see in capital expenditures this year is an in and out money. So the West Villages, once we have that agreement done, they will be purchasing, you know, the ladder truck. We'll be paying for it. They pay us back with impact fees over time. So some of those purchases that you see in our budget that make our budget look much bigger, they're not going to be all initially our money up front.
And Chief, you mind, because I have to leave, I'm sorry. And Chief, some of these things that you're talking about is why our ISO rating is so high. And so there are indirect savings there too, because we all save in our insurance and things like that. But it's because of these things that you're talking about that allow our ISO to be the best in the nation. Absolutely. So thank you guys, and I'm sorry I have to go, but thank you.
Thank you.
Did you say that the West Villages, okay, so we purchase the engine and then they pay us back over time?
No, so I'll just give an example. Right now, we won't actually place an order for, I'll use the ladder truck as an example. We won't place that until we have the ironclad agreement of when West Villages is paying us. So because we have a relationship with the vendor and we're speccing it, if once that legal agreement is signed, let's say we ordered it in November and December, the legal agreement might say that West Villages is going to pay us in July. It's still in the same fiscal year, but it's an expenditure of money. So they pay us. Our agreement, long-term, and this was figured many years ago, I believe it was 2006, is that we pay them back with impact fees over time. So impact fees that have been gathered up in that area would be used for the initial purchase to offset some of that investment. And then over time, as we collect those, we pay them back. And those are for the things like the fire station, the fire truck, the ambulance, and things like that.
Thank you very much for indulging me. I think it's important for the citizens to understand why we need to do this 8%.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Let's go ahead and have a motion.
I'll make a motion there.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and, let me get my sheet up, adopt the non-ad valorem assessment rates for the fire district as presented at the 8% increase.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner McDowell, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Is there anything else? Vote. And that's unanimous. Okay. Next is the first reading of ordinance number 2018-47, the adoption of fiscal year 2018-19 Fire Rescue District budget. We need that in a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Or maybe
right?
somebody, I don't have a button.
Yeah, they disappeared.
It's been moved by Commissioner Luke, seconded by Commissioner Yates. Okay. So let's go ahead and vote. And that's unanimous. Okay. Read by title only, please.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2018-47. An ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, adopting a fire rescue district budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending on September 30th, 2019, prescribing the terms, conditions, and provisions with respect to the items of appropriation and their payment, providing for supplemental appropriations and reappropriations, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions on this? Do I have any public comment on this? I don't think so.
No,
Okay.
no public comment.
Anything on this?
I'll make a motion.
I'll entertain motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we continue ordinance number 2018-47 to the second reading on September 20th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved by Commissioner McDowell, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Let's go ahead and vote. Let's see.
Speak to the motion and kind of.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to repeat everything I said before, but this is the budget, and so everything I said before is
Carries over.
applicable to this. So, you know, I just appreciate all the work that was done on this.
Okay.
Only thing I'd like to add is that our citizens, while they're paying a little bit more each year, the level of service is absolutely superior. They depend on the fire department. They depend on the whole city, but the fire department especially when they are watching their house burn or family injured. So thank you for trying to keep it down.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, you know, this year we have been lucky enough to have, and I know that it's kind of a, I don't know, it's good, it's bad, but we've had an extremely wet summer. Extremely wet. Something I haven't seen since 2005, 2006. But that tells me next year is going to be really dry. And that means that the fire department is going to be really busy. And as we saw last year, it really only takes one wildfire out in Yorkshire that blows up that can pretty much put us under the gun. So, you know, with that and, you know, the basics that the fire department does with, you know, transportation, the accidents that we're having on a consistent basis, the health issues that we're having constantly these days, you know, you add all those up, Baker Acts, I mean, to see the number of Baker Acts we went through in 2017 is just astronomical. And the fire department's EMS have to be there. So you add all of that up, it all has an implication. And, you know, the primary thing is that I heard throughout all of the city that the residents said, if you're going to raise my taxes by $20, $30, that's fine, but you better make sure that that fire department is being paid what they should be paid. And we did that. So here we are. Okay. So did we?
Voted.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we moving on. But no, we didn't vote on the adoption of the fiscal year. We need a motion for the ordinance.
We
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah, we're done.
No, I didn't mark it off. Okay. No public comment, correct? All right, so we're adjourned from that. Thank you all. And we move on to the road and drainage. Just give us 1 minute so that we can get that agenda up. And everybody has to get into that meeting. Okay. Just hit refresh.
Thanks.
Don't hit leave.
Too late.
No, you're there. You're fine.
I'm
Don't touch
there?
it.
Don't
Yep, you're
touch
there.
it.
Don't touch it.
I won't touch it.
You did hit it.
That one, okay. I wasn't sure which one we,
Road and drainage. Oh. Okay, everybody in?
Yep.
Good. All right, excellent. All right. Hello, everyone. Today is still Thursday, September 6th. It's 7:59 PM. We're in city chambers, and I call a city commission Road and Drainage District Governing Body meeting to order. Those present are Commissioner Luke, Vice Mayor Yates, Mayor Carusone, Commissioner McDowell, City Manager Lear, City Attorney Slayton, Interim City Clerk Pito, and Police Chief Garrison. As before, please fill out a public speaker's card if you would like to speak on this agenda. First, we need an approval of the agenda, Commission.
So moved.
You
Somebody else hit it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
okay, so it's been moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Let's go ahead and vote. And that's unanimous. Okay, read by title only, please. Oh, sorry, I'm moving ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No public comment?
Not
On
on
road and
that. It's on-
drainage?
Well,
Oh, it's on the hearing.
It's on the
Okay.
items itself.
All right, so no general public comment. All right, so now we go on to the resolution, number 2018-R-19, and if we could have that read by title.
Thank you. Resolution 2018-R19, a resolution of the City of Northport, Florida, providing for adoption, certification, and confirmation of the Northport Road and Drainage District non-ad valorem assessment rates and capital improvement assessment rates, and certification of the non-ad valorem assessment rolls for fiscal year 2018-2019, providing for findings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commission, anything on this resolution? Do we have public comment? Is this it?
We do, and I just have a question for Mrs. Ellison. Do you want to speak on the item A, which is the rate itself, or do you want to speak on the budget? Because the budget is 3B, which is what you have on your card.
The rate, I'm sure. You want to talk about how much you're getting charged?
Okay, I just spew stuff.
Speak on this.
Speak on either one, so you
Exactly.
can.
Speak
Okay,
on
there you
this,
go.
and if
It's-
you need to speak on the
it's
other one, you
whole
can.
thing.
Okay.
We're all in this boat.
All
So she
right,
might as
so
well do it
Mr.
right now.
Cooley, you're up first, and then we'll go ahead and have Miss Ellison. Mrs. Ellison?
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No handouts this time. Greg Cooley, 1274 Overhead Street. I'm aware of what was previously discussed among the Commission on Road and Drainage. I attended the public meeting on August 21. I want to address a few things that came up during that meeting. First, one reason I believe your methodology study was flawed, this letter right here stated road and drainage assessments could not go up by more than 10% in 1 year. Yet my proposed assessment was going to go up by 14.3%. And how many more homeowners were going to have their assessments go up by more than 10%, of which would have created a revenue shortfall as a result of the 10% ceiling? Did your outside consulting firm account for this rate ceiling shortfall in their estimates? If not, their new methodology was seriously flawed, and you should be seeking a refund from their subpar services and flawed study. Second, all the methodology study seemed to have accomplished, in my opinion, or proposed, was giving a tax breaks to the commercial businesses and shifting those costs and more over to us homeowners. Do you think it is fair for us homeowners? Do you think the big businesses were going to pass along those tax cuts to us consumers in the form of price reductions? Get real. Last, why did you spend $70,000 for this new study? I believe it was a total waste of money. And you should have saved that $70,000 and put it towards the 2018-19 road and drainage budget instead of pouring it down the drain. Next, at the close of the August 21 meeting, I think there was a general consensus of a 4.5% across-the-board increase to all taxpayers that nullified the need and purpose and expense of your $70,000 methodology study. Even though, in my opinion, 4.5% is still very high, I'm not completely opposed to it if us citizens see some real results. Raising our taxes and getting no more service benefit is wrong. And remember, you already got a 7.5% increase last year and an additional 12% in tax roll revenue growth this year. At some point, you simply just cannot justify additional tax increases. Thus, I will begrudgingly Agree to 4.5% this year, but remember, we fully expect to see some expanded service results. And do not come back to us again next year for another 4 or 5 or 6% when our wages are only going up by 1 to 2% annually. You need to budget and control your spending with limitations and priorities, just like us taxpayers and homeowners have to. We are not your banks. We do not own money trees. Our money does not come freely and limitless like you seem to think it does. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification's sake, the new methodology study was not approved.
That's correct.
Right. And so I just want that clear, and that the letter that was sent out because of the fact that it did go above the 10% ceiling, correct?
Well, not exactly. The letter was sent out, first of all, the 10% cap applies to if you don't do a methodology. If you do a new methodology study, you are not subject to that cap. Because our last methodology had in it that in order to raise rates more than 10%, you must do a new methodology. That's not why one was done.
Right.
But you can't raise them more than 10% if you don't do a new methodology. The letters were sent out because when you do a methodology,
You have to.
state law requires that you send a notification to every property owner. So that's why the letters were sent out, not because the amount we wanted to raise the rates. Doing a methodology, even if it came with no rate change, would have still required the letters.
And the letters are
$42,000
specific.
of the $70,000 rate study was the
On the
mailings that were
letters.
required by law.
Right. And, okay, so just to clarify, $42,000 of that $70,000 was actually just to send out the letters that were required by law to be sent out, correct? Okay. And
Postage, I mean.
postage, yeah.
They have 70-some-odd thousand parcels. Cost of a stamp for that many people.
And the, lost it, there was something else I was gonna point out. Yeah,
City Manager, our citizen mentioned that the 12.5% increase in property values, that does not get
that's what it was.
affected by
Thank you.
road and drainage.
Correct. And that's
Okay,
the
I
second
just
time
wanted
it's
to
been
make
mentioned.
sure.
That is for the ad
The other
valorem
one.
taxes, which is in the general fund. This is an assessment, and one has nothing to do with the other.
right, okay.
In this case, because I know in the fire, there was a
There is
little
a
bit of
slight
a,
impact to it, but.
but
in-
this has zero impact on the 12.5% increase in property values.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, and just, again, for the record, I believe that we had all the same concerns that Mr. Cooley had mentioned about that methodology study, and that's why we didn't approve it. So, next is Delaney Ellison.
Hi, I've been here before. We've done this before, and I'm gonna do it again. We heard from several people who are the kind of people who read the disclaimers on their interweb. I don't do that. I brought up the crosswalk at Sumter and Greenway that has never worked and has already been repaired once that we know of. I want to know how much that cost. The oak trees destined to root up Sumter Boulevard and its sidewalks. I want to know who commissioned that great idea. I brought up the swales and the culverts. The latter have never been dredged in order for the swale water to flow. They put in a culvert under Kayla Street to stop the road from flooding. You could probably fish in it by now because it's just full of water. It's not doing anything. The next culverts down the road are full of debris and dirt and stuff. And so the water is not going to flow from this new culvert that they put in the first place. It goes under the road, to the swale, to a culvert that doesn't work. That happens a lot. We were driving down the street today, coming from Price, going the back way, coming in. There's a whole bunch of culverts where the dirt is 3/4 of the way up. I believe it would have been cheaper to clean out the culverts. While they were installing the culvert under Kayla, my husband asked them to finish the roadside so that he could mow it. Because we all know that most of us take care of our properties in front of our homes, and that's city property, and we don't get paid. We've discontinued mowing that part because it's dangerous for him and our equipment. We're all paying our taxes. I'd like to know where the money goes. I've already paid to maintain the issues that I've discussed. The crosswalk at Sumter, fixed. Who's going to pay for that? We going to do that again? I feel like I'm paying for a $3,000 toilet. You can pick one up at Home Depot for $78 plus tax. You're going to raise the residents' taxes so that you can make tax breaks for Walmart and Hobby Lobby and McDonald's. And that's after you pay the consulting firm, which I just found out you didn't do that, which is a good thing for whatever harebrained idea this guy was going to come up with. Has any of the people responsible for our money ever driven down through Northport?
Can you summarize, please? You're out
To
of
see,
time.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm 3 seconds. I'd like to know if anybody that is responsible for our money has driven through Northport to see what our problems are so that we can spend the money that we already spend. We need fiscal responsibility in this area, not a tax increase. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to start with this?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor.
And I apologize, I meant to address this earlier, I just slipped my mind. But this resolution is for setting the rates, and when you look at the resolution, it does specifically reference in it that we are going to use the 2014 methodology. So from a procedural perspective, I would like to table this discussion, move up item C, which is that continuation of the conversation about the methodology that everybody received a notice about, to make an affirmative decision on not utilizing that, because we didn't decide at the last meeting as a action on that methodology, and then basically make action about utilizing the 2014 methodology. I just think from a procedural standpoint, item C, which talks about the methodology we're going to use, is after we're passing a resolution potentially that says we're going to use the 2014 methodology.
I'm a little confused because this is a continuation of a conversation on that methodology.
Item C is.
C is,
And that's
but
what I'm
we're,
saying. I think we
right,
need to pick up that item, close that out,
yeah,
and make that decision.
We did close that
No,
out.
we didn't. We told them
continue it.
to continue it.
But not for today. I didn't understand why this was on here for today.
No, it was.
It's supposed to be
Okay.
for today.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just saying to close that out because we continued it, that we're not adopting that methodology. Because then we fall back to the current methodology that we're under, which the parameters are different. Now we're under that guidance.
Yeah, which
Which
we
is what
already,
the resolution is.
right, but we
kinda
gave
based on.
that direction in the last commission
Yes, Mayor,
meeting,
you did
so-
that by consensus, and we had a procedural issue based on some of based on the public notice that was sent out for the hearing and the statutory requirements. So we continued the item and did not actually finalize it.
Okay, so do we have to do that first? Because we've already read the title.
That's true on the one hand.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I see where there's a logical progression.
So what,
I mean, if you adopt resolution number 2018-R-19 as written, part of that states that you are going to be utilizing the 2014 methodology. So that would certainly make C very fast if you leave it until later. But procedurally, you can also table it and come back to it.
even though that's already had public comment and the title's been
I don't see why not.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can
you're in the
table it
same-
for after,
you're in
I
the
mean,
same
I don't
meeting.
see either way being a big deal, because it, like you said, it's in here. So, Commission, what is your desire? Commissioner McDowell?
Let's take care of C and then come back to A, just
Commissioner
to be-
Luke?
Same thing, table it, and then
Okay,
do
so
C
we
and
need a
come back.
motion to table 3A.
Second.
Okay. Till the, you have to table it for a time, right?
Until after C.
Till after C, yeah. Right. Okay. So it's been moved by Commissioner Luke, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Let's go ahead and vote on that. That's unanimous. Okay, moving on to C.
I'll make a motion to address item number C, 3C.
No, we don't have
Now,
We don't need a motion for that.
well, we're skipping B.
Yeah,
gonna-
but, yeah, we can do it. Okay, go ahead. So what's the C? Now I gotta get out of this. I had this all queued up. I was ready.
The C was the methodology that basically was taking the 2014 methodology using pretty much the same structure in how it was breaking up the different categories. But there were some changes that we looked at, which we directed the consultant to do. And until you get a study back, you don't know how it's all going to shape out. And so we were trying to address some drainage issues and also the fairness issue, or a different approach to doing the rates on the linear versus parcel. So it was looking at altering that approach. So at the end of the day, there were some problems with it that we all had concerns about. So having the time since the last hearing on this, I'm in agreement that we not at this time adopt the 2019 methodology.
Motion, because I'll second it.
Okay, you want a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been, sorry, just motion by Vice Mayor to not adopt the 2019 methodology study, seconded by Commissioner McDowell, and I believe you already talked to the motion.
Yep.
Commissioner McDowell?
And I thought we already gave direction, maybe it was not direction, but consensus, to have them bring this methodology back for.
As a workshop.
As a workshop or further review, to go through some of the tweaks and concerns that we had.
Yeah.
And I thought we did that at the last meeting when we had it.
So I would just say.
I guess this formalizes that motion on it.
Exactly,
and-
that's
Yeah,
what
it
it does.
formalizes that, but I just want to make sure that we still want to look at this, tweak it in a workshop of some sort at a future date.
Not like June, future date.
Well, true, that's why we actually had that long discussion about it, giving us time.
Actually, I'd
versus-
feel better if there was an amendment to the motion stating that, so
Yeah.
that it was clear and defined.
I'll make an amendment that when we revisit this at a workshop, that it's done in the next few months, as opposed to rushing in June or July to try and get this resolved.
Okay, seconded by?
That's not really that's talking about the time of it. It's not stating that we are bringing back this
I said at a workshop.
2019 methodology to be tweaked
It's for a workshop.
for a workshop
What is it?
within the next few months. That states it all.
That's what she said. So are you seconding that?
I will second that if
Okay.
that's what she said, but
Yeah.
that is not what I heard.
The
It needed to be
motion to bring
clarified.
back.
So the, let's do the amendment first. The amendment was to bring back the proposed 2019 methodology study at a workshop within the next few months for us to evaluate, tweak, and
I also said the next few months is not June or July.
Okay.
Well,
And so
it
that's
could
been
be.
moved by Commissioner McDowell and seconded by Commissioner Luke. Is there anything else to that, folks? No. Okay, let's vote on the amendment first. And that's unanimous. And now to the main motion, which was to not use the 2019 methodology study this year, and instead to use the 2014 study.
As amended, or?
Nope. Oh, as amended, sorry, yes, you're right.
You mean the motion is amended?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're voting on the main motion now. Okay. And that's unanimous. All right, so that's taken care of. Now we can go back to A, which is the resolution number 2018-R-19, which has already been read by title only. We have already had public comment on that. And Commission, would you have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead. Wait, Commissioner McDowell has her light on.
Somebody else can go first.
Go ahead, you go
On
first.
first enough.
I don't know, I swear
It's not
I
on
did.
there.
It didn't work.
It's not on there. Now you're on there.
What are you gonna do without me in these technology problems?
I don't know. There'll be someone new.
Okay. So, and my computer just fell asleep, but I'll just point out, because I did it for the other districts or the other budgets, so if we go to that page in our budget and look at right before the SLAs, and we look at the road and drainage, I believe, just because my computer went to sleep, that for this one, in looking at the mandates and looking at how this all adds up, there was actually a decrease in the amount of total from the expenditures ordinary operating, which is 2.78%. So, you know, in fair comparison, I just wanted to share that. Beyond that, I expressed a lot of concern about the 4.5% across the board. The methodology we have, it's sound, it's been, you know, it's been tested and in place, and we'll be working on the other one. But in the meantime, just because of the new information that we have and the way that we're focusing on, you know, canals and we're reallocating some resources, I have great concern about doing an across-the-board 4.5%. And what I wanted to just share, and City Manager, if you can kind of help me out with this, but when I look at the comparison between the net, I'm looking at the two sheets that were provided in the additional information that I had asked for that should have
Where
been
is
sent to
that?
the commissioners as well, I would hope.
Where is that?
I don't know, but
Did you receive it, Vice Mayor, so that way I can check?
throughout the meeting today. The other meetings. And in any case, what I was asking for is the
Station, is that it?
allocation, the cost allocations using the 2014 methodology. And the bottom line is the net revenue requirement for fiscal year 18 was $12,027,567. The 2019, which I believed that the backup material that this Exhibit B or Attachment B was the cost allocation as it pertains to us using the 2014, and what those numbers would be.
I'm sorry, I am completely lost.
Yeah, I have no idea
I
what
am
you're
so
talking about.
sorry.
It's difficult because it gets into the analysis. We have two sheets here. 2019 cost allocation, 2018 cost allocation.
Oh, that's because we just got the email. Okay.
Right. So comparatively, bottom line is what I'm looking at is not to do any increase or change because of what is going on with the methodology and this information about cost allocation, reallocation of resources. I have concern with saying 4.5% increases in certain categories and certain rates when I look at where the expenditures are going. It's very concerning. And if there is any difference or gap in that revenue, which I think city manager was $1 million, close to it,
Actually, that's one of the things, like I told you, I hadn't verified the number.
right,
In looking at what we charged last year, I'm
Right.
not looking at the sheets that you have in front of you, I'm looking just strictly at the budget detail,
Yeah.
HTE?
the HTE.
Yeah.
The
It says-
assessment revenue went up $444,000
Right.
is what the 4.5% increase will bring in. So it's a little less than $450,000.
Okay, so if that's the case, now that's, of course, not reflective of the number, which is actually the assessment rates, which is 12,329,90.
Correct, that's assuming the 97% collection rate,
Right,
which mathematically should still be the same amount. If you were to go with a
Okay.
zero, it's going to be within a rounding difference
Okay.
of still about the $450,000.
right. So if we were to leave the rates as they are, no increase, because we're using the 2014 methodology anyway, that $444,080 can be taken from the numbers that I have here from the surtax, which we have a balance of $5,282,000 and change, to make up for the eligible expenditures that could come from the surtax to make up that gap. The money is there. The money is there to do that for this year, just because of the fact that this is kind of a mess. It's a mess from the old methodology, a mess from, the new methodology, as far as getting enough revenue to do what we need to do, especially with our drainage.
Isn't this one of the proposals that Ms. Belia put on the table instead of, this is what I was talking about in the last meeting, was utilizing that other option so that it wasn't raising the taxes, but they were getting the money. Now, when I questioned later, I was told it was no longer available within the surtax, that the surtax money had been designated or allocated for other places. So, I mean, if it's there and can be used, I stated in the last meeting, that's what I wanted to do. That's the option that I wanted from the get-go, so that it didn't touch the people. So I need to know whether it's truly there to use or not.
And that's what I was going to get to when it was my turn to speak is, yes, Commissioner Luke have mentioned that. You did mention it at the last meeting. We have updated information on the surtax. As you know, we continually get updated information throughout the process. Yes, at this point in time, that statement is true. We did not know that, some things have changed with funding levels in the surtax, some things have changed with projects coming in and being finished. At this point in time, yes, there is the funding available in the surtax to end an eligible expenditure in the road and drainage district, which both of those are key pieces of information to have.
Right.
So we could take $450,000 from surtax and eliminate the rate increase from the road and drainage district.
Just to ask a question, how much is the rate increase? I mean, what is it to the citizen? How much are we talking about?
$6.78.
Based on the methodology, though.
So the average 80 by 120
We're
lot.
looking at
How
about
much?
less than $7.
I want to say that statement's true. I don't have that piece of information in front of me.
See, that's what I can't find either, so.
That's what was discussed previously.
But we do have
Just
somebody
under
here
seven.
that is looking.
My
to
bill
tell you.
last year and added 4.5%.
And Mayor,
Right, and that's why I'm not sure if that's an accurate way to do it, because I was gonna do the same thing.
And Mayor, if I could just share that, whether it's a penny or it's $5 or $20 or whatever that is, my concern is based on the 2014 methodology. I have really grave concerns about saying we're going to raise every single category that we have broken out in our methodology by 4.5%, when I'm concerned that that is not the effective increase in those cost allocations.
Okay, and that's what I need to find out. I need to find out what the real cost allocation increase is.
The answer to the question of it's about $8.26 per resident.
Okay, what if you have 3 acres?
That was for a single acre.
Because here's my concern with using the surtax versus doing an
3 acres
increase.
is about $15.60.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry,
you go.
what?
Nice to have.
Yeah,
Is this
wouldn't
in the
it?
backup?
I
No,
didn't
ma'am.
see it. Uh-huh, okay, so we're talking about an $8 increase, a $5 increase, $3.15 on 3 acres, 22 on 5. Commercial is looking at large increases. So I guess my point is that, you know, yeah, we could use that surtax, but aren't we essentially just kicking the can down the road?
Well, but here's
I
the
mean,
thing,
because we
is
have
that
to use the same amount of money next year, so then we're gonna have to increase it anyways, so.
if you change the methodology, we're going to see increases and decreases no matter what, based on a
Correct.
methodology change. So no matter what, when we do a methodology change, there is going to be
Changes.
positive and negative, depending upon, to make it more fair as far as, you know, the linear foot instead of the parcel, or, you know, that different approach of how we get to where we need to be. And again, my concern is, we are in a real pickle and a real bind because of the timing on this. The consultant did their job. We did our job in trying to find and update a methodology that we've had for a few years, that needs to be updated. So we did our job. The problem is, we have to have this in by what, September 15th? That's the issue here, is we ran out of time, and we talked about the next time we do a methodology or a study, we need to have it done
Way in advance.
before, to give us flexibility to go back, make tweaks, come back and put those numbers in. It's just the timing constraint right now. But if you look at the allocations and the cost allocations, it's different. It's different to where mowing goes down, and, you know, drainage goes up. So if we were to say, hey, we need to raise it even if it's $8.26, how do you do that when your categories have changed so much that our resources are being allocated different, which is what the whole methodology was based on?
But did we not say to road and drainage, we don't want to do that anymore? That everything should be equally taken care of, not to concentrate on one thing and not the other on every other year? Because
Well-
that's where the problem lies,
Now, what-
is that,
What we were asked to do to bring this methodology back was, one, so that we could get the charges in the correct places, to reallocate the buckets to what's actually being done and what the expenditures are that we're incurring. The other thing that was done is not to raise everything equally across the board going forward, because one year may require more drainage work. Historically, we've needed more road work. We've got that done, so we're going to focus more on drainage. To put things in the buckets and put the rates for the work that we're actually doing. We brought you that methodology. It wasn't approved. We're going back to the old methodology. At that methodology meeting, the direction was bring a 4.5% across the board, and start dealing with the methodology right after the start of the fiscal year, which was our plan. That is what we brought you.
didn't that include increased services, though?
What the budget you have in front of you, what it includes is doing this, the mowing out in the estates, buying the slope mower and doing that. Originally, we weren't sure we'd be able to fund that, but we found a way that we can buy that equipment and do that work within the 4.5% that you asked us to bring back.
That, is that the
It does include
4.5% is
An
definitely.
increased service.
Right, it's not only the increased,
Yep, and the other thing I wanted to
Doing
address
business,
is,
but-
we've had a lot of conversation over the methodology.
Yeah.
And there's some statements that are made that can be misleading that I want to clarify. Doing a methodology has nothing to do with fairness as far as should this person be charged more? Should we give commercial a break? Should we charge commercial more? What a methodology and a rate study has in its underlying nature is to charge people for the service they're receiving.
Right.
So if you're getting more service, your rates could go up. If you're getting less service, your rate should go down. It doesn't matter on your ability to pay. And I want to make that extremely clear because we keep hearing over and over again, you're giving commercial a break at the expense of the homeowner. No, what we're charging people for is the service they're receiving. So I can't very well turn around and tell, whether you like them or not doesn't matter. Whether you were saying Walmart can afford to pay $59,000
No, I
versus
think what we were
$56,000.
saying is that Walmart and Publix have just recently updated their trip count and said that there was some astronomical amount of people that had visited Publix over there on Toledo, Blade and Price in the last year, and that needs to be accounted for.
And
So
that-
you can't
I
say that
agree
the
with you.
roads
I
are not
wasn't
being
saying the
impacted
commission
by that
necessarily
public.
was saying that. I was saying
Okay.
there's statements being made when public comes up that you're giving the commercial a break at the expense of the homeowner, when in reality, what we're doing is charging them for the service we're providing them, and that's what needs to be understood.
No, I get that, but I think what our argument over the current methodology that was proposed is that it didn't consider all of those things.
And I'm not arguing with that, I just want to make sure, and that's why you've decided to bring back the methodology. That methodology can come back, and commercial could end up getting a break. I want to say, we don't do a methodology saying, no, they can afford to pay it, so let's charge them. That will get you into court.
No, I think it was things that we don't feel were considered as far as the impact on infrastructure.
And that was commission's logic, and I get that.
Right.
I just want to make sure that
So-
when something's stated by somebody, a member of the public, that's not true, we need to get that out there and corrected.
So now, this would have been helpful to see, but I guess my concern is that, we're bringing in an extra $444,080, and we're gonna have to bring that same amount in next year in order for us, and probably more, because things go up, and in order to continue the level of service. So are we not just kicking the can down the road by pulling it from surtax every single year?
I disagree with that, Mayor, because if you look at SLA 1950-20, that's the wrong one, sorry. 1950-19, that is the boom or the slope mower, which is a capital outlay. And that certainly, I would think, city manager, that's eligible for the surtax monies. I mean, our general fund uses surtax money to buy vehicles, and so does every other department.
And that's not a recurring expenditure, so yes, that won't be in there next year.
Exactly.
The argument can be made to answer your question, yes or no, of whether or not we're kicking the can down, because there are some capital expenditures that may not exist next year. There might be different ones.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have directed to, again, do the methodology, start that conversation in October. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it won't equate to a rate increase next year, and I'm not going to tell you that it will. What the idea behind the methodology, like I've stated, and you all are very aware of this, is we'll get the buckets correct of who's being charged for what service we're providing, and we'll charge the right rates for drainage, the right rates for roads, the right rate for maintenance. And that, just like we've had, every one of the residents said, mine's going up this percent, mine's going up a different amount. Everybody's rates will change.
Different amount, too.
And how that changes, some will go up, some will go down, and they won't all be the same. If two pieces of property are exactly the same, yes, theirs will change the same. Somebody else's will change differently.
I am 100% aboard what she's saying, because that's what I have been saying for a couple of meetings. So I'm thrilled to hear somebody saying this. I appreciate Ms. Belia. She's the one who even stated at the beginning, but that it saves these guys an increase also. So I'm on board.
Especially under the circumstances. And I know Commissioner Luke,
When
you
you
were.
tweak stuff
Yeah, you
later,
kept saying that.
look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and going back and digging into this and looking at where we possibly can do this, and that's 202,000 just for that mower, and it's a one-time expenditure. That other 200 and some odd thousand, I'm sure, from some of the projects that we're doing, certainly could go there, and those projects are not necessarily recurring things. We're doing a project, so
That makes
just,
sense. Okay.
just to make sure that we have the time that we need to come up with and tweak this. But
They're not on the backs of them.
You're done. You're done. Yeah. No, I get it now.
Cool.
All right, Commissioner McDowell.
No, I know, right?
So, City Manager, can you help me, because you said that the slope mower is going to be used to mow out in the estates. But according to the SLA, it's going to be used for vertical mowing. So are we expanding service, or are we trying to fix the problems that we are backlogged on?
I'll let Ms. Belia explain that one better for you, all the places it can be used.
Juliana Belia, Public Works Director. After the last workshop, I met with my staff to try to come up with a plan as to how we are going to be able to perform the drainage services we need to perform and transition from maintenance of the roads through the road bond program primarily very aggressively to completely changing over to drainage. One of the main areas we have difficulties with in the city, where it starts from, of course, is in the estates. So what we'd like to do is to utilize the slope mower in the estates. Twice a year we will do the bottoms of all swales, because quite honestly there are many, many swales in the estates, both developed and undeveloped, got to be mowed, got to be maintained. We will do on the undeveloped swales in the estates, we will do both the sides of the swales as well as the bottoms through all of your undeveloped. So yes, to a certain degree, we will be increasing a little bit in the estates because we have to for drainage purposes. In addition to that, we will utilize throughout the city and all the undeveloped areas and along the retention ditches, all that type of thing, many other areas of the city in addition to the estates. But we do need to have, no matter what, I need to make sure we get this problem taken care of. And it does start from the north and goes to the south. So that is our plans for the slope mower.
Okay, so let me make sure I heard correctly, because what I am reading in the revised SLA is not matching what you're telling me.
Okay.
And that's where I'm confused.
Okay.
And then my subsequent questions about, are we purchasing a slope mower head or are we purchasing a vertical mower head? And you were saying that we're buying a vertical mower head, and now you're going to...
Okay, if I might clarify something. A vertical mower and a slope mower are the same exact pieces of equipment. It's just synonymous type language. That's what they're called. Some people call them slope mowers, some people call them vertical mowers. They're one and the same. They're one and the
That's
same.
interesting information.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yeah,
That's
they're-
extremely helpful.
Yeah, it's just a terminology thing. It's like a grapple truck, a claw truck. It's just how you refer to the equipment, but it's the same piece of equipment.
So when I was asking if the heads are interchangeable, my answer was yes. But in reality, that's the exact same piece of equipment. There's nothing to interchange.
No, that's correct.
Okay, so that was misleading with that information, and that's why I was confused, because I was under the impression, based on what I was reading, is there's two different ones. One's a
No,
slope mower,
ma'am.
one's a
It's
vertical.
one same piece of equipment.
Can I ask a question on that vertical mower page?
You're getting there. Go ahead.
So the revised SLA does talk about the slope mower and this, keeping the funding in there.
Yes,
is-
ma'am.
Is 290,000, but that's to focus on the vertical mowing program, which we currently have. But what
Correct.
you're saying is, in addition to that, we're going to also start addressing some of these swales. But I want to make sure that equal throughout the community,
It
because
will be.
it's not just the swales in the estates area that has trees growing out of it because of how wet it is and people can't, get it mowed. So we do have to do something to help control that. But go down Salford, go down some of these other areas.
I was just gonna say
We
the
have the
Madagascar area.
Okay, I can give you a
is
perfect example.
absolutely
And I believe I
horrendous.
talked about it a little bit at the last workshop. There's many times where we'll get phone calls stating that my swale doesn't drain.
Yep,
We go out there, it's completely overgrown.
yep.
We're gonna end up cleaning that ditch out. So we're gonna end up using a slope mower, using another piece of equipment to dig it out. So it'll be no different. If we have areas in the city, and we have a provision actually in our code that allows us to do that. If somebody, if it's genuinely a drainage problem, it's gonna be on us. If somebody can't get in their ditch because it's too steep,
Or too wet.
or too wet, they can request to the director or whatever for us to do the work. You have to have a valid reason. Physical incapability, or, we only have a few like that, but they have the availability of doing that, and we will go out and do it. So everybody will be afforded that service. I mean, in the
I want to
estates,
clarify.
yeah, yes, ma'am. In the estates,
It would
many
be
of the
more like
swales
a
are too,
regular-
yeah.
In the estates, it would be more like a regular
It will be more
upkeep
regular
because that's where the
because and
primary
it is true.
source
It
of.
are, they are too steep for many
Yeah.
people to maintain. So, but that will be no different than other areas of the city when someone would ask make the same request.
And you mentioned before specifically in the other areas of the city for undeveloped, and that's why I wanted
Yes,
to go
ma'am.
back. And I want to clarify that it's not just undeveloped.
Right.
It's anywhere. I mean, it could be those developed properties. Like I said, Salford has
Right.
tremendous problems, and
Right, right.
there's so many
Yes,
other
ma'am.
streets. So I want to clarify, this equipment is going to enable staff
Yes,
to
ma'am.
have the equipment to address both the vertical, where it's coming into the streets,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we have that issue, in addition to the ability to clean out some of these swales that are problematic.
Absolutely.
Where we hear,
Do both.
citizen after citizen telling us, it's my swale's not,
Not
clearing
draining.
out.
Yes,
And-
ma'am,
And
that's
that's what
correct.
this equipment will do.
Yes,
And
ma'am,
that's
you are
what we're on
correct.
board with.
You are correct.
Okay, we need to get moving here. It's a 8:45. So
Do
Commissioner
you want a
Luke?
motion?
I want to speak first. I love the plan of dividing the city into the quadrants, and I know you're working on Tropicare, or the estates, I'm sorry, the estates to start with. You and I have spoken on this before, but I think it's paramount that we speak with the county, because as we said, it starts from the north and it flows south.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
we're getting a lot of that water coming from the county going into the estates.
That's
And so I
correct.
think we need to have a conversation with them as what can be done to slow that water down coming into our city from their properties.
Yes, ma'am, and what we have done thus far is our staff has met with some of the Sarasota County staff members, members of SwiftMud. We're also in attendance at the meeting, so we have started those discussions. Our city manager has been speaking with the county administrator on a preliminary basis. This is all part of our flood reduction study that we have been working with the consultant, and the consultant was in attendance at the meeting. So we have started those discussions, and actually we'll be providing the commission with an update, I believe, in the next month or so, as to how we're progressing on some of these options for addressing some of our flooding issues. But that's definitely one of the options. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Ready for a
Commissioner McDowell. No, I gotta clear the lights.
Okay.
Are you finished, Commissioner Luke? Okay. All right, so we got the slope mower thing taken care of. Thank you very much. All right, so I understand that we're going to be using the surtax and possibly be able to eliminate the 4.5% increase.
Okay.
I still have concerns, though, with the amphibious vehicle that you want to purchase for $450,000. We, in the last meeting during methodology, it was said that we are 6 months or more behind. So why would we want to take on additional tasks with additional equipment and additional training until we can get things caught up.
This piece of equipment is in part going to help get us caught up with some things. But even though we are behind with that item, you know, with the swales and so forth, we're going to have the slope mower. That's going to help us with the swales. I need to keep moving. I need to catch up with what we've got behind on the swales. I need to start addressing these canals. We started in the last 2 years with the creek. We have gained a substantial amount of capacity. This time last year, when we, for example, this year at 21.68 feet in Myakatchee Creek, we have not yet seen sustained roadway flooding, okay? Normally, prior to this, at 21.35, we were definitely seeing roadway flooding. So I need to keep moving in that direction. Cleaning out the creek, I need to now start gaining capacity in my canals. Some of these canals, when you look down them, the vegetation is almost growing together. That is detrimental to those canals are the main part of our drainage system. That's where all the water flows into. I need to have that piece of amphibious equipment to start cutting back all that vegetation. It's all over the city. So I've got to catch up, and I agree, and we're going to do that with the slope mower. And I need to have that piece of amphibious equipment to start working on our canals.
I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree because
Okay.
we have got to get everything else done and with the staff that you have and get things caught up for the citizens' sake, for the drainage sake. And I just think that this $450,000 can be put off a year. Take $100,000, put it aside to help defray some of the costs for next year, but use some of that money to offset an increase. The vehicles, we got $1 million in vehicles, and like I asked the fire department, this $1 million in replacing the existing vehicles, can we put some of that off for one more year?
To replace our vehicles? No?
You have about $1 million slated to replace existing vehicles. So it's met its end of useful life.
Okay.
Can some of those vehicles be put off to next year instead of doing them this year and get another year out of them? To help save some of the money so we don't have to raise these taxes. Go ahead, Chuck.
Chuck Speak, Operations Manager, Public Works. We've been through our list at your request, at the Commission's request already. We've reduced the equipment that we're replacing. We went through every piece of equipment that is still on that list to see if it could go another year. The equipment that is on that list needs to go away. This is equipment that when one of those, there's 2 excavators there. When one of those excavators goes down, I have a 3 to 4 man crew now that can't work. And you want me to catch up on my backlog, I can't do it without the equipment to dig. So
Didn't you guys just have one of your mowers go down today?
possibly,
I think you did. They'd be out by me.
Bush hog, oh, that was a contractor. That was a contractor, unless it was a boom mower.
City employee.
Was it boom?
The bottom
Go
line
ahead.
is we are behind. We have a problem with the drainage. We have a problem with the swales. I don't think an amphibious vehicle is going to help in the swales or help in Myakatchee Creek.
Okay.
That is a lot of money that we can use elsewhere for other things and get things caught up. And the personnel that would be using those equipment can be used to get everything else caught up. And based on the surtax money, great. We're not going to be raising taxes, but at the same time, we don't have to buy these vehicles at that time, the amphibious one. And I think the amphibious vehicle, it says that it has a diameter of 3 inches is the maximum. You're going to find it's not going to be able to do what you're hoping it's going to do.
And if I can just expand on the amphibious vehicle. part of that purchase includes a clam bucket, a digging bucket, and a rake. So it's not solely for going in and cutting back, it's for moving sandbars from our canals, moving large logs if we have one that's down. Right now, we do that with our employees getting in the canal, wrapping chains around it, using an airboat, pulling it to where we can get an excavator to hook to it, and then pull it out.
Extremely dangerous.
And that is very unsafe,
Yeah.
and it's very inefficient.
Okay, we really need to move on because that is actually the next agenda.
Well, no, it has
Again,
to
but
do
I
with,
get it.
it
No,
has
yeah,
to do with
the-
the rate.
Yeah, no, I
Because
understand. It's tough because one does have to do
$500,000
with
for
the other.
one thing
No, I gotcha.
doesn't raise the rates then.
Okay,
Cut it.
so Commissioner Yates, go ahead with the motion.
Move to approve resolution number 2018-R-19, revising the resolution to retain the current rates with no increase, and revising Exhibit B accordingly.
City Manager?
That is perfectly fine. The one thing I wanted, it will also, based on the direction you've been giving, change the non-district budget. Because that's where the surtax funding to replace that you've been talking about comes from.
Well, I was going to do that under the budget ordinance.
Okay, I just-
Because this is only up for the
Want to make sure
resolution
that
for the
that piece
rate.
isn't missed. That
Do it under the budget ordinance?
That's what it should be done.
actually,
This is only dealing with the
it
rate.
will just be a change that we will announce between first and second, because the ordinance you'd make it under has already been approved.
Oh, you're talking about under the general fund one.
Because the surtax
You
funding.
didn't approve it.
The surtax funding comes in the non-district, which was
Right.
3 meetings ago.
Right.
Did that 2 meetings ago, yeah.
What I'll need is basically a consensus to go back and change one of the exhibits in the non-district budget
I understand.
to make up for whatever this being left at 0,
Right.
because it's not going to be around 444. We'll figure out what that change is,
Sure.
and we'll fix the surtax budget.
But my question is, do you want that as attached to the resolution, or do you want it when we get to the budget
I
to
want
give direction?
the direction
that we
under the
wanna-
budget.
Under the budget,
Yep.
okay. Because it was going to be to make up the gap from the direction on the rates
Exactly what I wanted
to
to
the
say it that way.
surtax, and to change the CIP.
So do we need to state that right now then?
No, you need to state it in the next one.
Next one, okay.
Second?
Moved by Vice Mayor, as stated. Hopefully you got that.
Yeah.
Seconded by Commissioner Luke. Let's go ahead and vote.
Zero increase.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, 4-0, that's unanimous. Just, I did understand what you were saying. It was going to be, it's 400-something thousand for one-time use of equipment. I get it. Took me a while.
You want me?
Yeah, okay, so the next is B. We need a motion to read by title only.
I don't have a second button. Oh, there it is. Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Luke, seconded by Vice Mayor. Let's go ahead and vote.
With your chair buddy there.
And that's Commissioner McDowell.
Sorry.
Okay.
I thought I hit it.
That's unanimous. Okay, go ahead and read by title only. Thank you.
Ordinance 2018-48, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, adopting a road and drainage district budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, and ending on September 30th, 2019, prescribing the terms, conditions, and provisions with respect to the items of appropriation and their payment, providing for supplemental appropriations and reappropriations, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we've talked this up to death, so Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I will move to continue ordinance number 2018-48 with the following changes to make up the gap in funding due to the change in the rate and to utilize the monies from surtax for those eligible expenditures, and update the CIP program, the CIP accordingly.
That works.
Second.
Okay, I got you. All right, so it's been moved by Vice Mayor and seconded by Commissioner Luke. And anything to that?
I just want to say thank you. This is what I've been seeing all along, so appreciate you bringing it forward.
Well, and I want to thank you, Commissioner Luke, like, in listening to the conversations and just trying to find some ways to accomplish, especially with not going forward with that methodology and just trying to find a way. And it just really hit on, there's got to be some way to do the surtax.
And this is the way.
Getting those, finalization of the numbers really made a difference in seeing that the surtax monies and how things were allocated. And whether or not we had eligible expenditures that we could do that with.
Exactly,
So,
because that's why I didn't hit on it again until I found out there was enough, because I was told there wasn't at a point, so we're good. I'm happy.
Thank you. Yep, teamwork, so.
Commissioner McDowell?
Yeah, as much as I'm against the amphibious vehicle, I'm not going to vote no for changing the equipment from surtax. I would hope, based on the conversations and the concerns that the citizens have and that we have with getting things caught up, that there will be a solid plan in place so that the citizens can see some progress is being made. Not hit or miss here or there, but some serious progress made in their neighborhoods. And the amphibious vehicle, I hope we get to see some progress in that area too. So I will support this, but I do have reservations, especially about purchasing that piece of equipment.
So I have a couple of things. First of all, thank you to the citizens, to everyone who actually have been shopping here, because bringing in more surtax helps to do this. When we talked about this the last time, we talked about the surtax already being allocated, and to have more come in than what we had expected is a huge plus. So that helps. And the fact that we're not using it for reoccurring costs, because you can't use surtax for reoccurring costs like pay increases. So I think with those two in combination, it was just perfect timing. And we appreciate staff for working hard and doing what they do. Yep, perfect timing. And so with that, let's go ahead and.
I just have one other. I know, we're almost there.
We're getting her that T-shirt and giving it to her when she leaves. At the last meeting, she's getting that T-shirt.
A T-shirt and a muzzle.
Okay.
Coffee cup? I won't need it then.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
Okay. So, there's a lot in this budget, and my concern going through this whole thing was just the volume of things that we were going to be tackling and doing in this coming fiscal year. I can tell you that my expectation, and I think the public's expectation moving forward, this budget is hefty with the equipment and the people that's needed for what's been conveyed, that we have to do these things. And we have to get a handle on, the vertical mowing, the drainage issues and so on. So I think there's going to be a lot of expectation from the community that they see the results of this and the equipment that's in here. And, I'm going to be having a conversation with the city manager just over the things I've heard for the past couple of months and examples that I've gone out and I've seen. And hopefully we can find some efficiencies and that our citizens aren't told that we're 9 months on a waiting list.
Yeah.
Because we've got to do something. If now we have the people, the equipment, and now the expectation is really getting a more streamlined so that, I don't think people have a problem paying their taxes, paying these assessments, as long as they're getting the services. And it can't be to where, one part of the community has to wait years before they get their drainage issue taken care of. so I appreciate all the effort and the hard work that you've all done. This department's come a long way. Julie, thank you for everything that you've done with all of your staff, but we're going to need to step it up this year now that we've got the equipment and, providing this passes at second hearing. But I just wanted to set out that expectation that, we get it done.
Tell me we gotta get you a T-shirt too.
No, my question is, how do we,
Question 1 and question 2.
I mean, it's only an additional $440-something thousand, like, to the budget. How are we saying that there's going to be so much change when you're only looking at $440,000 plus dollars? Like,
Well,
that's
every year
not a lot of money.
Yeah, but every year it's different as far as you could have spent, just because you spent 12 million last year, doesn't mean that your basic operating expenditures are going to be 12 million. It could be 9 million. It's what you do with the 3 million or 2 million to do projects.
We're
or
losing
do
the
certain things.
road stuff, right? Or,
Well, we're
I
going to be
just don't-
finishing up the road bond program in the spring.
Right.
And now we're in the position to concentrate more heavily on the drainage.
And that doesn't
That's our
mean we're
goal.
not doing the roads. We've got that maintenance.
Well, we have the
program.
maintenance, we but we don't have the road
What we're
bond
trying to
program.
get the drainage to is like we did the roads, get
Yes,
it
ma'am, that's
addressed
correct.
so that we can maintain, because right now we're not doing it.
Exactly.
okay, well, we're going to have a conversation about that, because I still don't see how we're going to increase our services to such a degree with $444,000 added to the budget.
Yeah, but
So-
it's the other part of the one-time expenditures that we have.
No, I get that.
You know what I mean?
No, I
It's-
understand what you're saying, that the one-time expenditures from last year are pulled out. And
Right,
I
right.
get that,
And
but I
that may have
still,
been $1.5 million.
It's not
Not
going to be,
true.
it's not
It
going to
could
be a
be a
magic
million.
wand, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
But
guess
that's
that's
at the
what my
workshop
concern
and the
is.
methodology talk.
yep, you're right. Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Unless you want me to say.
No,
one.
no,
No more
No.
questions.
0.
How many slope mowers do we have right now?
Hey, miss, one more question.
Yeah, well, my turn.
Go ahead.
No, currently, we have 3.
3, so this will make it 4.
This will make 4.
And we have all the personnel that are trained and ready to go on them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, that meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. I hope this meeting doesn't
Oh,
take
wait
too
a
long.
minute, no, you adjourned that too fast.
No, we
You
already
didn't
had
bang your
the,
gavel. I have a public comment here.
for road and
It's
drainage.
regular public comment. Can
Is
you
it for-
can you adjourn a meeting?
Yeah, I didn't bang the gavel.
Okay.
It's general
Says
public comment.
comment.
Okay. It's, Mr. Cooley. I mean, we can technically do it under solid waste, but if it's general
He
public.
handed it this
But
way.
go ahead, Mr. Cooley, you're up. I think we need to take a break though after this.
Greg Hewley, 1274 Overhead Street. Following the same vein of your last discussion, I want to address the city manager. City manager, I have attended a number of commissioners' meetings over the past 1+ years since the time you were named full-time city manager. During this 1+ year, I've heard numerous complaints from many citizens about poor non-existent road and drainage services, complaints about permitting and inspection processes of the building, public works, and zoning departments, a number of complaints about code enforcement of vacant lots, and others. Also, after 1+ years under your leadership and based upon this trim notice, you and the city departments have submitted requests for budget increases that were going to affect my personal property taxes by 14% in the millage, 20% in fire and rescue, 14.3% in road and drainage. Maybe you inherited a mess. But, judging by these results, it appears to me and the city departments under your direction have little fiscal discipline and your spending is out of control and you are not prioritizing the essential and primary needs of this city properly. As a comparison, during the same year, Sarasota County infrastructure is being attended to. Sarasota County is providing us with a 1.9% decrease in its millage rate, and most of our personal wages have increased by 1.5% to 2%. So why is the city and your leadership asking for 14 to 20% tax increases based upon this trim notice with less than stellar service performance? More money's not going to fix these problems, but revised leadership, proper prioritization of fiscal discipline will. And yet most people want to blame these commissioners for all this. But I'm of the opinion most of these problems lie squarely at your feet. Thus, I'm asking the citizens of Northport and these commissioners to hold you accountable for this performance. Higher taxes, poor service is not what we want, not what we expect, and not what we will tolerate as citizens from this city, especially considering all the money you already have to work with. From this one citizen, I recommend you look at the direction of your leadership, or the voters will begin the correction process at the commissioners level, and we'll work our way down to you. These issues are very important to us citizens, and it shows this city and its departments under your leadership seem to be misdirected and have a serious lack of fiscal responsibility. That's just from my opinion. Thank you very much.
I want to address something that has been brought up repeatedly, and that is that Sarasota County reduced their rates. It is easy to reduce your rates when you are reducing service. They have reduced the service to the city of Northport. They have taken away our transportation lines. They have taken away our sheriff's department. They have reduced the health department budget. I mean, it's reduction, reduction, reduction. When you stop putting towards the municipalities and laying all that on the feet of us, it is real easy to reduce those rates. But guess what? We have to pick up that.
Same
We
thing with
do.
the state.
Same with the state. So it is not fair in any way, shape, or form for us to blame the city manager or blame the city commission, because you know what? The facts are the facts. Stuff still costs what it costs. Services still need to be rendered. And we're the ones left holding the ball because we're the ones who are required to give that service.
And our staff makes it and does it just as fiscally responsible as you can do.
The way that budget has been cut
Oh, I
and
know the
spliced
budget's been-
and
yeah.
cut and spliced, I think this city manager has done a hell of a job. And yes, I cursed Commissioner Hanks. So, okay.
And also, also too, the city manager does, from a budget standpoint, because that is the one job that this commission has, but takes direction
From
from
us.
this commission.
Absolutely.
Any increase is from this commission. The city manager, he puts into place everything that the commission directs budgetary-wise. So if it's an issue that you're not getting a service from a particular staff or department, yeah, that's city manager, and, that's on him. But budgetary-wise, that's what your commission is in charge of. And I say it again, I applaud the city manager from coming down from a
From what we said.
3.89, was it, increase to again go back, look, and there was some very, very, I don't want to call it creative, there were some things that were found that actually can adjust things to make sure that we didn't have any rate increase this year. So that was the city manager. That wasn't something that the commission found. That was the city manager that found the ability for the allocation of resources to the general fund to put money back that
If he
needed
didn't
to
have the
be.
wisdom and the experience, he
Exactly.
wouldn't have been able to do it. We
Yeah.
couldn't do it, he did it.
Mayor, I just felt, just from what I saw with what you did between our last meeting on this budget to now, and
Incredible.
doing what you did, I never expected you to do, what
Zero.
I was asking.
A zero.
And
Better
several
than
people-
she was asking.
Exactly.
She didn't ask for that much of a cut.
Yeah, so.
I was shocked because I thought for sure we were going to have some sort of an increase, but, I mean,
And it
granted,
also-
there is an increase, don't get me wrong.
I had faith in you.
But I
And
was
balancing out
shocked.
what we were addressing from the building fund.
Absolutely.
Accruing as it was, and, so.
Did everything we asked
Thank you,
and
City
more,
Manager.
so. Okay.
The kind words, and as you all know, I have an amazing staff that allows us to come back the way it did. We all know that, well, I may be the one sitting here, I'm backed by an amazing team, and They're the ones who helped find these changes. We had conversations over them, we got your direction. And you're right, I wasn't convinced that we were gonna have a flat millage rate, but that was, that was the commission's goal. Direction was to lower the millage rate from what was in the not-to-exceed rates. We did that, and I'm very proud of our staff for not only getting it lowered, but getting it to a 0% increase. And after tonight's meetings, I know we still have one to do, but that one also has a no increase in the rate. Only one of the rates are going up.
Right.
All of the others are staying the same. So I am proud of that, and I'm very proud of our staff for finding a way to do that and increasing services. Keep in mind, we aren't leaving services the way they were when we entered this year. We are increasing the service level we were providing to our residents. You have an aquatic facility coming on. We're
That's
taking
not
on.
increasing our taxes, by the
That's
way.
correct. That's what I mean. We have are increasing services.
Word that I feel, and that's proud. I am so proud of our city.
Now, are we perfect? No. Are there areas we need to improve? There always will be, and we are working hard to do that. And the commission's giving us the resources to do that. And we've identified some areas. And at the end of the day, there are still going to be areas that we're going to need to improve on, and we strive to do that every day. And we will continue to strive to do that. And like I say, I'm very proud of the staff, the fact that we are increasing the level of service without increasing the rates that we're charging people on 3 out of the 4 meetings that we're having tonight.
Yep. Okay, folks, anything else?
That's adjourned.
Did you say something? No? Okay.
Got to move on
All
to the
right.
last one.
We're adjourned on that. Do we want to take a few minutes?
No.
Or will the next one take like a few minutes?
Take a few minutes.
All right. Just as long as it takes a few minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and pull out of that meeting, go into solid waste now.
Should be able to join now.
It says leave.
Yeah, it
I left
does
and I
that.
joined.
That's why you gotta,
You have to leave to join?
Yeah, I leave and then
but when you
refresh,
leave, sometimes it'll take you out.
right, refresh, and then I go back into it.
It won't let me in. You had to say that.
Yeah, that's why I don't ever do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says join meeting successfully, but it's not. I guess I'll hit leave again.
Yeah, mine's stuck. It's a waiting item. See, I told you I should have taken a break.
Hang on there.
Magic touch.
It's a waiting item.
After November, I don't think I'm gonna have an iPad or a
You're
Surface
gonna,
Pad.
yeah, you're
or-
gonna barely get your cell
or an
phone
iPhone
working,
or-
right? Okay, are we ready then? Okay. I don't know if mine's working, but I don't even care. So, today is Thursday, September 6, 2018. It is 9:17 PM. We're in city chambers. I call the commission, no, I don't either. I call the Solid Waste District Governing Body meeting to order. Those present are Commissioner Luke, Vice Mayor Yates, Mayor Carusone, Commissioner McDowell, City Manager Lears, City Attorney Slayton, Interim City Clerk Pito, and Police Chief Garrison. Okay, just to move on, we have an approval of the agenda. Commission.
Second.
All right, that's been moved by Commissioner Luke, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. Let's go ahead and vote. No, I don't even have a voting thing on. Oh, girl, I'm about to go.
Thought I did it earlier.
Yeah, mine isn't working. So, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair votes aye, and motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on. We don't have any public comment. The resolution 2018-R-18, read by title only, please.
Thank you. Resolution number 2018-R18. A resolution of the City of Northport, Florida, providing for adoption, certification, and confirmation of the Northport Solid Waste District non-ad valorem assessment rates and certification of the non-ad valorem assessment rolls for fiscal year 2018-19, providing for findings, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? You'll have to put your hand up because I can't see.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, if there's no
Okay,
questions.
Go.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2018 R18, adopting the Solid Waste District non-ad valorem assessment rates.
Second.
No change.
It's been moved by Commissioner McDowell, seconded by Commissioner Luke. Anything to that?
Nope.
Okay, let's vote.
Good job, Frankie.
Sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next is first reading of ordinance number 2018-49. Need a motion to read by title.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Luke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Move by, please read by title only. Thank
you. Ordinance number 2018-49, an ordinance of the City of Northport, Florida, adopting a solid waste district budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2018, ending on September 30th, 2019, prescribing the terms, conditions, and provisions with respect to the items of appropriation and their payment, providing for supplemental appropriations and reappropriations, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. So the ordinance number 2018-49, anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, let's go ahead and entertain a motion. Anyone?
Continue ordinance number 2018-49 to second reading on September 20th, 2018.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Yates, as stated.
Seconded by McDowell.
I'm sorry. Moved by Vice Mayor Yates, seconded by Commissioner McDowell, as stated. Anything to that? Seeing none.
Ma'am.
Go ahead. What do you have to say?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, it definitely, this is, I don't know how many years in a row, but we even reduced
12.
it. Well, we reduced it too, so.
With either a reduction or,
Dollars last year.
And there were increases, I don't have that unnumbered sheet in front of me, but there were increases in the revenue that was coming from other sources, really balanced things out, and we're in good.
15.15%.
And so it helped balance things out, but it's been a great job, great teamwork. And not only that, we're adding equipment and in order to manage and handle the level of service demands and increased level of service. So I couldn't let it go without saying kudos to this district as well.
Commissioner McDowell, did you have something?
Well, she pretty much just said everything I was going to say, so props to you, kudos to you, thank you, I'm done.
Commissioner Luke?
Way to go, Frankie, way to go.
I think I started something. Yeah, well, listen, I always tell you good job, so I can't say too much because it'll blow your head up. But thank you very much. All right, now can we vote? Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Chair votes aye.
No public comment.
That's unanimous. I see no public comment for anything on this. So we are, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.